I think one of the main challenges as a small country and as a crowded is the land issue. And the density of the population. And that makes an additional pressure in terms of land. So the best way to go about it is to rethink the business model and try and see how we can reach aggregation, because one of the main challenges smallholder farmers have been experiencing is they don't have enough muscles to deal with the middleman in terms of agribusiness. So I think the best way to go is how now governments, not only Burundi but the rest of Africa, can come and structure and assist the private sector to be the catalyst in terms of agribusiness market. And through that, they will think through the right mechanism, for instance, in terms of gathering farmers together in cooperatives, but also strengthening the capacity in terms of aggregation by having warehousing, storage solutions for them. Then from there, they will have a bargaining power now dealing with the middlemen and having better prices for their produce.
Sadly, most people, especially those active in these sectors, always feel that when we come to these big forums, most of the time we make really nice statements, beautiful declarations, but when we go back to the ground, it's business as usual. When people go back to their homes, it's business as usual. How different then should a farmer back in Burundi or parts of this sub-Saharan Africa be expecting or thinking of as far as the actions are concerned that will be coming out of this place? What sort of actions are you looking at?
Thank you, Eugene. And I have to admit that you're right, and you have been right, but things have started to change. For instance, I was also part of this big forum, AGRAF, which took place last week here in Kigali, where the main, basically, motto was to lead, to measure, and grow. Merger is what we're talking about now. It's we've been seeing different initiatives, a lot of talk. Now it's all about walk the talk. So basically now the next round, for instance, for AGRAF next year will be, okay, let's depict where we were in 2018. What kind of indicators have been improving for the last year or not, and then take it up from there. So we are moving more into execution, implementation. And what we tend to forget also when we have these fantastic events, they gather different stakeholders from the public sector, private sector, and civil society. So there are also side talks, which or side meetings which are happening during those kind of events, and that's where the most work is happening. Basically now liaising, for instance, we've seen government liaising with the big companies in terms of fertilizers to see how now they can provide subsidized fertilizing options for smallholder farmers. So let's keep that in mind.
Let's keep that in mind. But of course, on the panel, I mean, we have had speakers who are speaking of the issue of political will as far as, you know, affecting some of these agreements that come through these kind of forums. I want to read your mind as far as what needs to be done as far as that issue of political will is concerned. Do we need a school where we'll take our politicians, where they can be taught the point or the subject of political will? What do we do as far as this issue is concerned?
That's a good point. I think I have a simple motto. In terms of African development, feed the stomach and feed the brain, and in that order. Why that motto? First of all, I think we need to structure a way where our people will no longer suffer from hunger and see agribusiness as a business, right? To move agriculture into agribusiness. So that's the first thing. That will be helping them also to have enough money to pay school fees. Then you'll be generating a new generation of people who have gone to school, and then widening the scope of people who can be knowledgeable and participate in the political arena. It's basically a bottom-up approach we should think about. And then we'll have probably in the next 20, 30, 50 years, new generation of leaders who will no longer be hungry and will be focused in terms of what can we do better for our people.
Right.
Feed the stomach, feed the brain.
Feed the stomach, feed the brain. Smart one. Let's talk a bit about the issue of financing, because it's also one of the things that comes up, especially when we talk about agriculture, the need to de-risk this sector. I want to read your thoughts on the practical solutions, practical ways. How do we move from here as far as this issue of de-risking this sector is concerned?
So that's a very valid point. First of all, as we're changing the mindset, we should stop associating agriculture with poverty and think that agribusiness is really a business, right? And from there, as any business will be thinking about the market. Once there is a market, now you focus on what can I produce to serve the market. And from there, it's a viable business model. Now, financial institution will be interested now to take part into that. Don't forget that they're also looking for lucrative way to grow. And once they see business, even if it's agribusiness now, they'll be willing to participate. There is another thing you've mentioned, which is very critical in terms of de-risking agribusiness. I think there are a lot of initiatives which have been there in terms of setting up now guarantee fund to basically finance more the small and middle-sized companies, and also in agribusiness space. There is also basically what we tend to forget is also to have the right structure, right? The right infrastructure. Which can allow people to do business. That's a fantastic way to de-risk the business, especially when it comes to the routes to markets. Infrastructure has been a big challenge for our continent, being addressed by a good number of countries. And that is also to de-risk the business in terms of how now people can reach the market by having the proper road infrastructure, rail infrastructure, like what is happening in Kenya, for instance, to offer business opportunities to our people.
Right. But of course, when we have this infrastructure in place, there'll still be need to access these markets as far as opening up of markets are concerned across the region, which is still an issue for many producers of agricultural products. Some of them complain of non-tariff barriers when it comes to them accessing markets across the region. What is happening in your end as far as unlocking this bottlenecks is concerned?
So thank you very much. What we do in terms of JBQ Africa, we are targeting now to work with different people within the ecosystem of agribusiness, from decision makers, public sector now to private sector. What we do is basically to enhance the capabilities and knowledge in terms of what can be a favorable framework for countries to enable smallholder farmers, a business spend to do a business across. So we've been seeing very good initiatives. Now when it comes to Africa Intertrade, that countries, 50 out of the 54, I think 50 countries have signed so far, and we are getting into the ratification phase where we'll need 22 countries to sign. I think we have a very good momentum led by President Kagame, for instance, on that initiative, and a lot of presidents are following into his steps. So that is a fantastic way also to open the markets. And we've been seeing, I guess we are blessed enough from East Africa, more regional integration, which can be a catalyst now for us business people to conduct our core business.